Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been here for the ride before, welcome back. I hope you are all well and safe and doing something creatively that's fun. I'm going to be flipping this particular journal for you today in this week's Friday Flip. I wanted to just show you a comparison size-wise to a regular standard size TN. It's the same width as that book, but as you can tell, it's significantly shorter. So this journal was kind of alligatoring out as I started stuffing it up. So I just took a piece of elastic from my stash, stamped it with StazOn, and used that as a kind of a nice way to keep this journal closed when it's sitting in the bin that's over there that, all my filled journals reside in. I used a video on YouTube. I think Teesha Moore's videos are still on YouTube that shows how she makes these pamphlet journals. And I think she does a single signature one. And I ended up using 5 signatures to make this one. She basically takes a large sheet of watercolor paper and does this cutting and folding. I just started with a smaller piece of watercolor paper, so my journal is definitely smaller. So this is more like an A6 size, I would think. And hers is, I think, an 8 by 10. Okay. Now I wanted to use this size for traveling. As usual, it's got cardboard covers that I cover with wallpaper, and I have a fabric swatch that I covered it through as well. As always, anytime there's anything on my spine like the beads, it happens when the journal is done. So this journal, I made it to use primarily as a travel journal to get a sense of how things would work with something this small. So it starts in 2010 of September. So if you take a look at it, what I liked about this style is it's got these flip outs. Okay, and that was kind of fun to play with. Some of these pages were pre-prepped before my trip with watercolors on them, so that all I had to do was add some writing or do some sketching on it. See, again, some of the flip outs are bigger, some of them are smaller, so that's kind of really fun. All right, so take a look here. Again, a lot of the background colors were added ahead of time. It's just kind of fun to think about how are you going to use a spread. So even though the book is this size, when you have a flip out that looks like this, you've basically really elongated that particular spread. So that was kind of fun to play with and see how I would use it. Again, it alternates between these short and longer flip outs. So this was, I was in Ann Arbor, going to Chicago in this particular time for a cousin's wedding. So I've got his invitations and stuff like that in here. And, again, sitting in my hotel room, sketching what I'm doing, looking out the window. People always ask me this question is I tend to do a lot of writing in my journals. And now what has changed is when I travel, I actually take a morning pages, my composition book with me, and I continue just to use my composition book just because there's just so much writing that I do, and it would fill out these books fairly quickly. So when people ask me, so how do you do that? What I say is there's always time that you're waiting. So you're waiting for people to get ready, to taking showers, whatever. I take a pen and I just start writing. And I stop when everybody's done, and you'd be surprised how much you can actually capture of your day if you just do it in these incremental bites throughout the day. So this piece right here covers this trip, okay? The Midwest Jaunt, September to October 2010. This next section is a trip to Las Vegas where I have my brother and his family. And so this is in December of 2010, same journal. So that was kind of an interesting thing, is to have it all together. Now, you'll notice that if you look at some of my newer journals, there are pictures. So I add a lot more pictures and a lot more sketching to my newer journals. This is 2010, a lot more writing, and there's no pictures whatsoever, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about, right? And I've mentioned this before. Anytime you're journaling and there's kids around, I highly recommend getting them to play, because this is from 2010. My nieces were really, really young. So I'm having, sketches and nieces kind of writing and taking notes about different things. So, each one of them in this book does something, which is just really fun. And one of the things they consistently did was they would all get their stuffed animals and bring them out so that we could sit there and sketch them together. And I always take journals for them as well. So we spend some time, journaling. And I have lots of photos on that of those events that we would do. And it was just so much fun. So again, I love the fact that when you open out the folds, you actually get more real estate. And this is an example of playing with my nieces, each one of them. So the twins were 7 and the older one was 8 at the time. They each traced out their hands and then put colors on the page that matched their favorite color. So there's a note that I have about their favorite colors at that particular time. I love this. This is an example of, what makes a journal personal is capturing a particular moment in time. So these kinds of things just make me very happy. So again, there's always lots of notes. Again, sketching of my niece's stuffed animals. Here's one of my niece playing with a stencil and doing some sketching. For some reason, there was this whole thing of you could only see one eye in a girl's face, which was kind of an interesting thing. Just seeing what they would do and how they would create. They also would go ahead and find all these bookmarks from various places that they would, collect them, and then they would want me to stick them into my journal. So that's just kind of fun, and I think about just putting, sketches, notes, images, having other people play in my journal is really fun. A packing list, I now have a complete packing list that I use for every trip, but this is when I started kind of creating what that packing list was going to look like. There's an envelope here in the back that has got, airline stubs and things like that. And that's what this journal looks like. So this covers 2 trips. And what I think is so fun, as I said earlier, it's this moment in time. Now, the only thing I would do differently is the fact that I would actually have added photos. I really like having pictures. And so, like I said, if you look at travel journals from today, I tend to add more pictures into them as opposed to just have all these photos sitting in a cloud somewhere, right? So that's what I have for you today. I'd love to know if you make your own journals, and especially have you tried this Teesha Moore style before? Please talk to me down below and let me know if you have videos I can go take a look at. I'd love to hear any questions or comments that you have, and links, as always, I will go take a look and see what you are creating and playing with as well. Thanks so much for stopping by again, and have a great week. Bye.